Asia loves to sell romance, but it rarely lets queer love stand in daylight. Tonight on Silent Fame, we're crossing from Bangkok to Seoul, Manila to Tokyo, to meet 10 powerful gay couples who refuse to stay invisible. Some fought the law, some built quiet empires, some simply chose to hold hands and never let go. These aren't fan service pairings, they're real partners, building real lives in places that still tell them to be smaller. Stay with us, drop where you're watching from in the comments, and let's see how love looks when it's brave enough to exist in public. 1. Mile Phakphum Apo Nattawin, The Fire and the Velvet. When KinnPorsche hit the world, it didn't just tell a love story, it dared to scream one in a region where queer intimacy often lives in whispers. At its blazing center were Mile Phakphum and Apo Nattawin. Two men, two contrasts, one impossible to fake chemistry. Mile, with his stormy stillness, held a masculinity that defied toxicity. Apo, soft-eyed and uncontained, brought vulnerability wrapped in danger. Together, they weren't playing lovers, they were becoming something bigger than the script. Every look between them felt unscripted, every silence louder than any line. But love, real or acted, always stirs the waters. Fans devoured it. Industry insiders watched with unease. Because in Thailand, the BL machine loves illusion. Real queerness, that's a liability. But Mila and Apo refused to be boxed. They didn't declare. They didn't deny. They simply were. Interviews became cryptic poetry. Touches behind the scenes became viral fuel. They weren't selling romance. They were offering a mirror. And for many, it was the first time masculinity, queerness, and desire had coexisted so powerfully on screen. Apo once said he longed for freedom, to be himself without being decoded. Mile, ever grounded, echoed it simply. We don't fake what we feel. Their magic wasn't just chemistry, it was clarity, the kind that doesn't need confirmation, just presence, just truth. Did Mile Apo show you that some truths don't need to be spoken to be real? Drop the moment that stayed with you in the comments, and if you still believe that queer connection can change the world, hit subscribe. Because here, we honor what burns between the lines. 2. Edison Fan and Rob Seio, The Empire of Elegance. They didn't just love each other, they built a life that looks like art. From Shanghai to Seoul, Edison Fan and Rob Seio aren't just a couple, they are a redefinition of same-sex power in modern Asia. Edison, with his fitness-sculpted body and fashion world finesse, made his image his message. Every photo he posts is more than thirst, it's pride. Every flex is coded resistance in a region that still silences queerness. Rob, soft-spoken and razor-sharp, balances Edison's fire with precision. A businessman, a strategist, a calming presence who never asked for attention but commands it anyway. Together, they are a storm in slow motion. Not messy, not loud, just certain. They share glimpses, vacations, smiles, rooftops drenched in dusklight, and never once do they chase clout. Yet every image whispers the same quiet rebellion. We're here, we're in love, and we're thriving. With an estimated net worth in the millions, they could flaunt. But instead, they elevate. Edison speaks about body positivity, queer marriage, the right to joy. Rob designs businesses that build community, not just capital. They aren't just partners, they're proof. That love, lived without apology, can succeed in Asia. Their story isn't a fairy tale, it's a blueprint for how two men can love openly, build deeply, and still keep something sacred just for themselves. Does Edison and Rob's story inspire you to believe that queer success doesn't have to come with shame? Tell us what moment made you stop scrolling, and subscribe for more stories where love isn't whispered, it's worn with pride. 3. Porsche Aiwa Arm Sapanu, the vow that waited 17 years. Some love stories don't explode. They unfold. Slowly, stubbornly, beautifully. Porsche and Arm met as two young actors navigating Thailand's booming BL world. They started as friends, found safety in each other, and somewhere in the shadows of celebrity, fell in love. But in 2008, Thailand wasn't ready for their truth. And so they waited. For each other, for the world, for the law. They lived side by side through 17 years of rising fame, fan speculation, and personal sacrifice. While others posted and posed, they stayed quiet. Not because they were ashamed, but because they knew some truths deserve silence until they can be honored. Then came January 10, 2025. Same-sex marriage was finally legalized in Thailand, and Porsche and Arm were among the first to say yes. Their wedding wasn't a spectacle, it was history. A quiet revolution dressed in grace. Two men no longer waiting, just loving. Today, they're more than actors. They're entrepreneurs, mentors, and pillars of a new generation that's daring to be real. From campaigns to causes, red carpets to classrooms, they carry the kind of love that no longer needs hiding. Arm once said, "We grew up together, now we'll grow old together." That line, it wasn't a script, it was a promise. Were you watching when Porsche and Arm rewrote what a Thai love story could look like? If their vow gave you hope, hope that love can wait, survive, and win, leave a comment and subscribe. Because this is Silent Fame, and this is what truth looks like when it gets to walk down the aisle. 4. Billkin and PP Krit, the sunset that refused to stay silent. Some couples play lovers. These two played themselves. When I Told Sunset About You aired, it was more than a love story. It was a wound dressed in poetry. Tae and OEOW didn't fall in love. They bled into it. And the actors behind them? Billkin and PP Krit were impossible to look away from. PP wore heartbreak like it belonged to him, raw, honest, almost too real. Billkin carried denial like a shield, tight-lipped, clenched, breaking open piece by piece. Their chemistry wasn't fan service. It was something deeper, something messy, something dangerous. But when the cameras stopped, the noise began. Fans wanted declarations, wanted hand-holding, wanted the illusion to continue. Instead, Billkin and PP pulled back. No cutesy interviews, no flirty tweets, just two young men choosing distance. And that broke the internet. Were they hiding or protecting something sacred? PP spoke about hating labels. Billkin said he didn't want to be fantasy. Some fans called it betrayal, others whispered, finally, freedom. But here's the truth. They never disrespected the love they portrayed. They just refused to live inside it forever. And maybe that's more radical than pretending. Because what if queer love doesn't owe you a happy ending? What if it's allowed to be complicated? Did Billkin and PP make you feel seen or abandoned? Drop your truth in the comments. Team Tae or Team OAOEW? And if you believe queer stories can be messy and still matter, hit subscribe. Let's keep the conversation as real as the love they showed. 5. Quintis and Kenny, the art of loving without apology. They don't walk red carpets. They write books. They don't do fan service. They build empires. In a world obsessed with visibility, Quintis and Kenny chose something rarer: substance. Together for over 12 years, married in a fairy tale English castle, they're more than just a couple. They're a blueprint for how queer love can build, bloom, and lead without ever raising their voice. Quintis is the quiet storm, a poetic entrepreneur, founder of 3 companies, and author of Love is the Magical Nutrient. Kenny, sharp and magnetic, runs a luxury cosmetics brand and writes stories that sparkle with wit and soul. Between them, a net worth of millions. But that's not their real wealth. Their real legacy is in how they look at each other, the way Kenny's eyes light up when Quintis smiles, the way their lives, words, and businesses echo one value: truth. In a China that still walks on eggshells around queerness, they built a home of elegance and safety. They didn't shout, they lived, and millions noticed. Did Quintis and Kenny's story show you that success and softness can coexist? Tell us what part of their story stayed with you. And if you believe in quiet revolutions made from poetry and pride, subscribe and walk with us. This is what legacy looks like when built by love. 6. Kim, Jo Gwang-soo and David Kim, the wedding that shook Korea. They didn't wait for permission. They made history. In a country where same-sex marriage is still illegal, Kim Jo Gwang-soo and David Kim did the unthinkable. They held a wedding. Public, loud, beautiful. It wasn't for clout. It was for justice, for presence, for every queer Korean who was told to stay small. And when the government refused to recognize their union, they sued. Not to win, but to dare. To say, we are here, we deserve more. Kim Jo, a celebrated film director, turned cinema into protest, crafting stories that reflected the LGBTQ+ truth Korea tried to suppress. David, CEO of Rainbow Factory, took those stories and turned them into bridges. Together, they created art and advocacy in equal measure. Their courage sparked outrage, admiration, and a ripple effect that can still be felt in classrooms, cafes, and film festivals across Asia. They live boldly, but not extravagantly. Their wealth, estimated in the millions. Their influence, immeasurable. Their marriage may not be recognized on paper, but it has rewritten the cultural contract. Did Kim Jo and David's story give you hope or challenge your idea of what love should fight for? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe that art can be activism and love can be law, hit subscribe. Because here, we don't wait for approval. We tell the stories that make approval irrelevant. 7. Elijah Canlas and Kokoy de Santos. The love that survived distance and doctrine. No kisses, no touch, not even the same room. And yet, in the middle of a pandemic and a country ruled by conservative values, two boys fell in love on a screen, and the world felt it. Gameboys was supposed to be low-budget quarantine content. Instead, it became a lifeline. Elijah Canlas and Kokoy de Santos didn't just act, they reached through glass, through grief, through religion, and said, "We're still here." Queer love still exists. But the Philippines isn't easy. A country where Catholicism governs more than churches, where LGBTQ+ rights are debated like their theory, not lived experience. And yet, these two young men leaned in. Not with a press release, not with a rainbow, just with presence. Fans wanted answers. Are they together? Are they just acting? Are they allies or more? But Elijah and Kokoy never confirmed. And somehow that made it even more powerful. Because sometimes not naming something makes it harder to erase. They smiled through interviews, stood beside each other when it was easier to stand apart, and gave queer Filipino youth something they rarely get on screen: tenderness. Were Elijah and Kokoy brave for staying ambiguous? Or did they owe fans more clarity? Tell us how Gameboys made you feel. And if you believe queer love doesn't need to be loud to be revolutionary, hit subscribe. In a nation where silence is survival, this story still shouts. 8. Woody Milintachinda and Akara Ote Chachai, the power couple that changed Thai TV. Thailand celebrates queerness on screen, but off screen? It still hesitates. Glitter is welcomed. Marriage? Only recently. And that's what makes Woody and Ote's story so seismic. Woody isn't just a media figure, He is Thai entertainment. He's interviewed global stars, dominated primetime, and shaped pop culture. But when he came out publicly, it wasn't for a headline. It was a reckoning. And beside him stood Ote, calm, grounded, and quietly brilliant. They didn't do the BL slow burn. They didn't tease fans or build fantasy. They just lived, openly, elegantly, powerfully. When same-sex marriage was finally legalized in 2025, they were one of the first couples to register. No drama, no spectacle, just two men affirming what had always been true. This love is real and now it's legal. They run businesses, they build media, they change minds without shouting. And that's what divides fans. Some say they don't represent the struggles of queerness. Too rich, too polished. Others say they're exactly what success in queerness should look like. Are Woody and Ote an ideal or a fantasy only a few can reach? Comment below if you think quiet power can still be radical, and subscribe if you believe love doesn't need permission to thrive. In Thailand's glittering chaos, they are grace. 9, Aaron and Danny, the foreign love that felt like home. Different languages, different continents, same heartbeat. Aaron and Danny didn't start with fame. They started with coffee, a campus, a quiet glance across the table that turned into a life. One from Canada, one from Korea, one raised on Western ideals of love and freedom, the other shaped by Confucian values, quiet duty, and the weight of cultural silence. Together, they didn't just build a relationship, they translated it. For each other, and for us. Their YouTube channel wasn't built for drama. It was built on truth. They let us in, not as influencers, but as witnesses. No rainbow branding, no sponsorship screaming ally. Just two men showing the world how love lives in the little things. Morning routines, shy smiles, the way Danny says sorry with his eyes. But they also spark debate. Should love this intimate be public? Should Korean queerness be shown through a half-foreign lens? Can you be a voice for a culture if you're also outside it? And maybe that's the point. Their story isn't neat. It's layered, global, real, and above all, it's honest. Did Aaron and Danny's cross-cultural love feel authentic to you or too curated? Let us know what part of their story moved you. And if you believe queer love should cross all borders, hit subscribe. Because here, we tell stories that don't translate easily, and that's why they matter. 10. Sheibba and Coogi, the love that painted quiet revolution. Japan rarely says it out loud. It folds queerness into metaphors, into poetry, into shadows behind sliding doors. But some love stories glow so gently they can't stay hidden. Sheibba and Coogi didn't explode onto the scene. They bloomed like morning light through paper walls. He is a photographer, soft-spoken, always seeing more than what's there. He is an illustrator, a quiet force who turns emotions into color. They met in Tokyo, a collaboration, a coffee, a shared silence that turned into something unbreakable. For 10 years, they created life together. Slow mornings, art studios filled with jazz and paint, a home built not from wealth, but from patience. In 2018, they flew to Hawaii and married under a sunrise sky. No media, no drama, just two vows and the ocean bearing witness. In Japan, it wasn't legal, but in their hearts, and now their passports, it was real. Later, they adopted a son. And just like that, they became what Japan rarely shows, a queer family, whole and proud, not in protest, but in harmony. Raising their child with love, tradition, and freedom, proving that the most radical thing you can do is exist peacefully. Their fans don't chase scandals. They follow their quiet, their warmth, their art. They're not activists with slogans. but their life is activism. Every photo, every drawing, every shared breakfast says the same thing. Love is not chaos. It is calm. It is care. Did Sheibba and Coogi's story show you that queer joy can be quiet and still be powerful? Tell us if their art, their home, or their family moved you. And if you believe love doesn't have to be loud to change the world, hit subscribe. Because here, we celebrate all kinds of courage, even the kind that speaks in whispers. Thank you for staying with these love stories to the end. From Bangkok weddings to Tokyo art studios, these couples prove queer love in Asia is not a fantasy. It's real, stubborn, and worth fighting for. Tell us which couple moved you most in the comments, and why. Hit like, subscribe, and share this video so their courage travels further than any border. This is Silent Fame, where we don't just watch queer history, we remember it.